Good, I guess, morning, good afternoon, darlings. And
Hello.
hello to you, Samuel. It has been a minute since you and I did a live together,
True.
and I think we have a few things we need to talk about.
Apparently so, yes. I would be
I've
grilled.
got some hard-hitting questions
Hope
that
everybody
I
has
need
brought
to
their hot
grill you
sauce
about.
and barbecue sauce.
Yes, exactly. The hottest sauce.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's going to be a fun chat. I am going to grill you on some important Swiss-related questions, though.
Goodness. All right. All right.
Yes. And just so everyone knows, he has no idea what I'm talking about at this point.
Not
So,
really, no. No.
yeah. I just told him, hey, I got some questions for you, sir. And
Yeah.
we're going to get into it. But
Sure.
first, please, and everyone who is listening or watching, make sure you pop over to Samuel's channel, the SP Chef, as I'm sure everyone knows already. And make sure you give him a subscribe and maybe watch it over there as well.
Mm.
Um, because you have some really fun content and you've been up to some shenanigans lately
A little
that
bit, yes.
a little bit people are not going to want to miss.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to
So
edit and do everything else. And yes, we have some fun stuff.
I'm actually quite excited to see it. So
Yeah.
I love when this kind of stuff happens. And,
Yeah.
people may not know what we're talking about, but it'll be good. I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
Let's say hi to a few folks.
Sure.
We got Clearwater Chad,
Oh,
who
hello there,
has
sir.
hit the like button. That's a great
Right,
idea.
so.
It's fun.
Yes.
It's free, and it really helps the channel.
That's right. Reach and
Uh,
withdraw the like button.
yeah, reach and withdraw, smash it.
Yeah.
You could suppress the like button if you wanted to.
Right, yes.
Yeah, you could flow some theta towards the like button.
Yes, yes.
All kinds of things you could do. Hello to Nerman. We got Ted S. Thank you very much for
Hello.
joining us. Lavender Bridges. We are wonderful humans, aren't we?
Oh, I suppose, yes. We're
I
good
suppose we are.
specimens.
Yes. And we got, here we go. Sandy McKenna from a steamy, hot Florida.
Yeah.
It is, you were saying it's nice in Switzerland right now, but here in British
Yeah,
Columbia, it is hot
yeah.
as F right now.
Yes.
And it's supposed to get hotter and hotter throughout the entire week.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's pleasant at the moment in Switzerland. It's I don't know what's in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, it's about somewhere between 28 and maybe 32 Celsius, which is pleasant enough. It isn't too hot. Yeah.
You consider that pleasant? My
It's
goodness,
pleasant.
sir.
I mean, listen. I work in the kitchens. You know, sometimes we get over 40 degrees in the kitchen, while outside it is under 40, just because of all the ovens and everything else is going on. You just sort of get used to it.
Gotcha. Well, for me, I'm a ginger, that type of heat, no bueno.
No bueno.
So no
Yeah.
bueno. Hello to my amazing wife who is downstairs and sharing a link to your channel, sir.
Marvelous. Thank you so much.
She is my moderator for today, so you better watch yourself in the chat.
Yes, please. Behave.
Behave. We have Sue who's hanging out on your channel.
Oh, hello there, Sue.
We got Tartan TRs, Leany G.
Hello, hello.
Also on your channel here, BS. Hello. Fluffer Squirrel UK.
Oh, hello, darling. we have to do the second part of our art video. We'll I'll write to you after the stream and we'll coordinate something.
Yeah, and we're going to be chatting about art therapy in our chat today as well.
Indeed.
It is something that I have begun doing lately, and I wanted to act. I'm going to share. I'm going to share some of my first pictures.
Oh, marvelous!
Which is super embarrassing, but also just a part of the process. So
of course,
I'm going to share with y'all, and you guys can let me know what you think. And they're all for sale, just so you guys know.
Yeah.
I'm going to start up an Etsy shop.
Etsy.
All right. Etsy. Do you know what Etsy is?
No.
Oh, okay. It's like a online web store for like small creators.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I mean, they take a cut, but
sure. I mean, most of them will.
Yeah. but it's kind of cool. In fact, that's where we purchased my wedding ring is from Etsy.
All right, there you go.
We got Dr. MLS. Hello from Tampa Bay.
Hello there.
Nice. And here we go. We got Susan Cook. Thank you very much for the hug, Susan. And Anna says that they will behave.
Excellent.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Yeah. Well.
All right. Speaking of behaving, sir, let's get right into it.
Okay.
You took a trip, and you went to, was it London or London area, the UK?
Yeah, I went a little more south of London in Sussex, in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 4 days there with Brad, who was at the protest at the IS event. He was the chief of SP security. That's right.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And Brad, who's an amazing human being, like truly mean that, so kind and gentle, also supplied myself and others with an amazing tea. It was a cold, rainy November day, and we had been out there for hours, and my throat was feeling a little bit rough.
Sure.
He held an umbrella over my head and gave me this beautiful, I think it was a ginger honey tea. Oh, fixed me right up.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of Brad, this most marvelous of SPTV thingy over here, this is not a print. This is something he actually painted with watercolors. Wow. Yeah, he did that for me. I will get it framed, so it looks a little bit better than that. But yeah, that's something he made as well for me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's sending me something as well. So I'm excited to see what it is. Yeah. But let's get back to it. Stop procrastinating, sir. I'm going to grill you.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Ahead. Oh, yeah, it's getting hard.
All right. I'm going to share this video with you all. I hope you can hear it when I play it. But you sent me this little video asking, saying, tell me you are Swiss without telling me you're Swiss. And I'm just going to play it, and then we're going to get into it.
No, I can't hear it.
You cannot hear it. Okay, let me try resharing it. Sure. Because sometimes StreamYard sucks.
Yeah, I've only once tried to do that when I had you on, and I completely failed at it. I still don't know how to do it, but we'll figure it out.
We will try this one more time. Sure. Make sure the volume's turned up, and we'll go from there. Let's try it again.
Okay, tell me you're Swiss without telling me you're Swiss. Let me go first. So I'm on a flight now to England. It's a fairly short one. And I got myself a tea. And I packed myself a piece of bread with some chocolate in
it. There you go. Yes, it's very Swiss.
Yeah. So you made yourself a chocolate sandwich.
Basically. But rather than having like Nutella or like some sort of chocolate spread, it's just literally just 2 pieces of chocolate just shoved in a piece of bread. Yeah.
We need to delve into this. So it got me thinking, what is with the Swiss and chocolate? I want to know more about the history.
Oh.
I want to know your favorite chocolate dishes.
Oh, goodness.
I want to know, as a chef, what you recommend I make as my first chocolate dish, other than a chocolate sandwich. I want to know everything about chocolate, and that's what I'm going to grill you on today.
Goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So you ready for it?
Okay, go ahead.
Are you up for the challenge? So do you know what the history is? Like, why is it Swiss chocolate is so world renowned? And like, is it something in the water? Is it something in the cows? Is it something like...
I mean, as I understand, it originates in the 19th century, where there were a couple of Swiss inventors who invented a method of actually working the chocolate to make it the way that it is now. And as I understand it now, worldwide, it's done in the same way. But it was the Swiss who started it all. And because they were the first, I think that's where it started to spread how good the Swiss chocolate is. And then, of course, the milk that we use is the milk from our cows. And they are up in the mountains with lots of fresh air, they don't eat just grass, but they eat lots of different herbs and things that grow up in the mountains. And I suppose it has to do all with that, really. Because
Gotcha.
chocolate only has the ingredients of cocoa butter, sugar, water, and that's it. And then, of course, milk, if you make milk chocolate, or other ingredients to give it a flavor. So the basic ingredients for it is nothing too exciting, but it is the method, and obviously over the years to have found a reputation. And of course, another thing to compare it with is if you compare it to American chocolate has a lot more acidity in it. There's much more acidity in the chocolate. And the reason for that has to do also, we have to go back in time, during a time, because America is huge. So it was often divided that each state would produce a certain thing, and then it would be transported to the other states. So not each state has to produce its own little thing, because that way it's just more, it's more industrial, it's more efficient. And so what would happen is one state, or maybe a couple of states, they would be focused on producing milk. And that milk had to travel across the country. And of course, milk goes bad fairly quickly. And back then they only would have had trains. So what they had to do, they had to add acidity to the milk to make it last longer. And that way, afterwards, when they started to make chocolate, it had this distinctive acidic taste to it. And nowadays, they put it in there still, not to make it last longer, because, of course, you don't have to do that these days, but because the American public are so used to this taste of it that they still keep it in there. And that is, this acidity is not in Swiss chocolate, or I think European chocolate, generally speaking, because, of course, our countries are much smaller.
Yeah, because like you sent me a bunch of chocolate, which I still have some left, just so everyone knows.
Okay.
I've been restraining myself and been sharing,
Right.
but
you've been locking them away. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I give myself a daily allowance.
Right. Excellent. Yeah.
Because and I just noticed it's much smoother. It's much it's more creamier. Even the darker stuff is very
yeah.
It just has a different texture and everything. And I just kind of thought you might know why.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you do. That's awesome.
Did you do a little research?
I didn't know. I'm grilling you, man. This is me learning right now. This is me learning.
Okay, goodness. Okay. I hope no Swiss authorities are watching this. Otherwise, they might deduct some points from my Swiss citizenship.
Take your passport away.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And then you had a chocolate sandwich, which is totally fine, and you're getting support in the chat. We got
Excellent.
Anna here who's saying that's the best way to eat chocolate, with bread, of course.
Right.
Good bread and good chocolate.
There you go.
Other than chocolate sandwiches on a plane,
sure.
What is your go-to chocolate? What are you, and maybe in different situations, what's your go-to chocolate when you're excited and happy? What's your go-to chocolate when you're sad or just kind of bummed out? What's in your cupboard, sir?
Should I actually take it out? Should I have a look at what I have?
Yeah. Right. Let's break it out. I will entertain people. And in fact, while he's doing that, I will share with you all. I got a really nice package from the folks at the Covent Gardens Market, and it included a package of irreverent cards. And so I'm going to try every time to share with you an irreverent card with some lovely knowledge. And today's irreverent card is the inner path of peace. The path to inner peace. Let's see if I can get this to focus. The path to inner peace begins with 4 words: not my fucking problem. And on the other side, we have let the crazy ass shit go. So that's today's moments of wisdom from the card, the irreverent cards. All right. What do you got for us? What are you going for, sir?
To my defense, I just arrived back from England yesterday, so obviously I didn't have a lot in stock. However, I have this chocolate, which I think I sent to you as well.
Pistachio, yeah, I think you did. So
you have milk chocolate on the outside, and the inside you have crushed pistachio in a nougat. I love pistachios. It's also my favorite ice cream.
I do remember that one.
Yeah. And then I've got this one here, which is just a milk chocolate with almonds. in it.
You sent me that one as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big
So-
fan of almond chocolate. I think it just
Oh, yeah.
goes so well together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's what I have in my cupboard right now.
Okay.
That's like a throwback to the old videos of what do I have in my handbag, and then you have to show what's in the handbag and all of that. So that's in my cupboard. But okay, to answer the original question, what do I eat when I'm sad or when I'm excited or whatever? Well, it doesn't really make a difference if I'm sad or not sad. I just eat whatever chocolate I have. I like nougaty sort of chocolate. So, and not just a solid piece of chocolate. Like here, it's solid chocolate with some nuts in it. I do like that. But sort of this sort of chocolate is more like a treat. This is a little bit more expensive. This is like a treat. And you have individual squares, which is very helpful because you can just eat one square and then sort of put it away. And a bar of chocolate like that, you can sort of crack, take off quite a bit and just munch on it. And then obviously that's far worse because then I get spot all over the face. But yeah, so nougaty stuff I really like with pistachios or with lots of cream, with double cream in it, which is fabulous, with other sort of nuts, with caramel, of course,
Oh yes.
with toffee. Yeah.
Well, I'm with you on everything you just said there. I don't
Right.
eat as much nougaty type chocolate as I guess I could. I'm a huge fan of mint and chocolate, which
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Me too.
the market also sent me these blocks of chocolate with they're like a big icy one where the ones that really melt in your mouth.
Oh yeah.
And it's mint and it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so they might be mostly gone
Yeah.
already.
Oh, and by the way, the best way to eat chocolate. Now, if you have it's a bit difficult to apply this when you have a chocolate with large nutty bits in it. But the best way to eat chocolate, which is also the best way if you're trying to not to eat too much chocolate, is you just take a square, put it in your tongue, and you press it against the roof of your mouth, and you just let it melt, because it takes a good 2 minutes or so until that chocolate is melted, and it just goes all over your tongue. You can taste it so much better, and you enjoy it so much more. And at the end, you'll only have maybe 2 squares of chocolate because it takes so much time, and then you're already satisfied rather than just sort of shoving it in without really tasting it.
Well, and I think that's true for high quality chocolate, but I don't
You
think
mean
that's
if you just need a
possible
hit?
with like
If you just need a hit.
Well, there's
like
the shitty chocolate that's like super mass produced that
right.
Like the cheap Cadbury stuff or Nestle, whatever.
Yeah.
And that stuff, because it's basically just sugar, there's no real quality to it. That's harder to do that with. But as my wife here says, do you always have chocolate in your home? And her comment, there is no just eating one square.
Yeah, of course, you never eat just one square. Of course. But what I'm trying to say is, try to just only eat, 2 or 3 or so. That's what I always say to myself. But I was going to compare that what you just said with the cheap chocolate. It's like that cheap wine in a carton that you can buy. It's just sort of like you just have it just to get drunk. It's not there for the taste. It's just for the effect afterwards.
Right.
I guess
that's a good point.
Yeah, but yeah.
We're popping off the chat here. We got some people, some chocolate fans. So let me bring up a few of your guys' comments here. We got No Name in Northwest. Yes, chocolate, of course, especially dark chocolate with almonds and sea salt.
Oh yeah.
But what about cheese? Now that's a discussion.
Goodness gracious.
We won't break into that.
Yeah.
That's a different live, sir.
Yeah, because cheese Switzerland is also famous for its cheese, again, due to the milk from the cows and so on. Yeah.
Yes. So maybe it's just your guys' cows are just amazing.
I guess so. But you know what? The best ice cream obviously from a cow, that I've ever had was in England from Cornwall with Cornish cream. That was divine. That was the most amazing ice cream I've ever had. And I'm assuming it's because, although I don't know if it is why it is specifically Cornwall and it wouldn't be all along the coast. But of course, these cows, they are right at the coast. They have sea water and sea air, flung at them day and night. They eat grass that probably have some salt on it because of the sea, and that all will make an influence on how the milk will taste in the end. Having said that, obviously all along the coast, everywhere, this should be the case. But this Cornish cream, I don't know if somebody in the chat is from Cornwall or from the UK and can answer why it is so, so good, so effing good. But it's such. I mean, I've never had any better ice cream in my life than from there. But when I was there, I didn't actually find any chocolate made with that, with Cornish milk. So that would be interesting to see how that, would taste.
Interesting. There's right across the border in the United States, from where we live in Washington State. There's an ice cream place called Acme Ice Cream, and their ice cream is stretchy. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what the deal is, but it is
more glucose probably.
Could be, yeah. It's unbelievable. It's so weird because it's almost like matzah. It's got that stretch to it.
Right.
And then in Abbotsford, which is just east of where we live, there's a dairy place called Birchwood Dairy. It just has amazing ice cream.
Yeah.
So when you come here, I'll take you there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And we got Nerman here says real chocolate versus fake processed food. Yeah.
Sure.
I think there's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Sometimes you don't. You just need a hit. You just need a hit of chocolate, and you just don't care. And you just. Yeah. I mean, what I also have here, I didn't bring it because it's just not really. It's baking chocolate. Chocolate that you use that you melt to put in the cakes and things like that. I mean, you can eat that. It's okay to be eaten, but it's not really. It's the quality of it is not all that high because it's meant to be heated and to be used in the cakes and things like that. But if I were desperate, if maybe I have some time off and I didn't want to go out for a few days and I couldn't restock on my chocolate, then I would dig into that as well. Yeah.
Now, do you take specific trips to restock chocolate, or is it just while you're already out?
No, I'm very efficient. I'm very efficient when I go shopping. I have my shopping list and I write down exactly, but I never write down specifically chocolate. I just write chocolate and then I just see what's on sale. Maybe there's something new there. I mean, I don't know how the chocolate aisles are in America, but I mean, I would say our chocolate aisles in Switzerland are like the gun aisles in America. Maybe I have no clue. Like how big it is. It's huge. I mean, you have it's feet and feet and feet and feet and feet of chocolates, and it's when you go there for the first time, it's apparently completely overwhelmed. You don't even know where to go to first, and so because of that, there's lots of new stuff. Like every few months, you will find a new brand maybe, or an old brand that and they will try a new flavor. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I'm down. I'm on my way.
Yeah. You can start, from the top left, and you just work your way all the way through. And then when you're done, you can start again, and then there will be new versions of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Anna is wondering if you've ever had Modica or Modica chocolate.
No. He said an American chocolate. The only American chocolate that I've had was one called either Kisses or Hugs or something like that. And they come in little.
The Hershey Kisses.
Yeah, this little like that. And I remember because I was in the SEOC, and my senior at the time, Christopher Simons, he was from Chicago, and he got them from someone from the family, right? And it was really exciting. He was really proud showing this to me, and tried and I tried it, and I'm sorry to say, but I had to spit it out right away, because I wasn't used to this acidity. I'm used to this very sweet, smooth chocolate that we have in Switzerland, and it was generally a shock because I expected that sort of thing, and then I put it in my mouth, and it was completely different. It was almost like putting a lemon in my mouth in comparison for me. I mean, now I've sort of
that's interesting.
Yeah, I've gotten used to it enough in the sense that I've tried it several times different American chocolate, so that when I know it's American chocolate, I can almost tell my brain, okay, this has a little bit of acidity, and then it's fine. I can taste it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can sort of critique it, if so to say, a bit better, because I can, but back then that was the first, because I had no idea that it is so acidic.
It's funny. I've never considered chocolate, like American style chocolate, to be acidic. Like I never really pinpointed that.
Yeah.
So now I'll have to try some again.
Yeah.
I've been eating your chocolate.
If you try very plain chocolate, like if it has other things in it, like caramel and things like that, that might obscure it a little bit, because obviously caramel is very sweet. But if you just have plain milk chocolate and then try that, I mean, you might even look on the ingredients. Maybe it will say something about the level of acidity or something like that, and you can maybe compare it to the Swiss chocolate that you still have.
I will. I'll compare it.
Yeah, because that was actually, interestingly enough, while I was in culinary school, because I remember that incident with those Hershey chocolate that I tried. I asked my teacher, well, why is it that American chocolate? Because in Switzerland, American chocolate, I mean, obviously we Swiss, we know we have the best chocolate. Maybe head to head with Belgium. Maybe Belgium is also famous for its chocolate, but we sort of make fun of American chocolate, so to speak. And then I asked the serious question, well, why is it so different? Like, what is the difference of it? And that's where I found out about this, that back then they had to add acidity to it to make it last longer, the milk. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Hawaii has good chocolate too.
Oh yeah.
We were in years ago. We were in on Honolulu, and they have, or in Honolulu, on Oahu, and they have Manoa chocolate.
Okay.
We went to their factory where they're make it and everything. It's so good.
Yeah. Cool.
So good. Will's hoodie pocket says, my family Christmas dessert is Hershey bar sandwiches, basically grilled cheese with chocolate instead of cheese.
Okay,
that's
fair.
amazing.
Yeah.
I think I would love to see you do a cooking with Samuel and make your own version of this.
I mean, I could do something that would make all Italians mad. I could make pasta with chocolate. Because if you think about it, pasta is neither savory nor sweet.
Yep.
It's like bread. It's not either really savory nor sweet. It's very neutral.
Yeah.
And then you can play with that around, and then you could, in theory, throw in some, in the hot pasta, throw in some chocolate, and then have chocolatey spaghetti or whatever.
Spaghetti.
And
Anna loves chocolate with salt.
So, cool. That's nice.
Me too.
Well, so I like to say chocolate with a bit of suppression,
Yes. Gabrielle ate an entire Black Forest cake over a week's time.
Wow.
Which, to be fair, is not that big of a feat for some people. I know I could probably do that.
Apropos forest cake, maybe I should send you the picture, then you can put it up. The largest cake I've ever made in my life was 120 kilograms. So to give you some comparison, I'm 50 kilos. So 2.5 times me from the size. And it was a Black Forest gâteau, a Black Forest cake. I'm going to be so rude and just have a look on my phone. If I find a picture, I'll send it to you. Then maybe you can pop it up.
Yeah, for sure.
And this was during my...
Sorry.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say that I made this during my time when I was in the military. And this was in my last couple of service weeks that I was there. And I said, I want to sort of go with a bang and make something really big and spectacular. So they really sort of think about me in the future. Oh, why isn't he there anymore? Because I made lots of desserts, and I really, really treated them, with lots of desserts and things. Let's see.
Well, while you look for that, I'm going to read a comment here. Pam Abernathy says, this was a while ago, but she just arrived. 2 great men whom I admire greatly. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Yes, she is marvelous. And talking about chocolate, in the U.S., dark chocolate is about the best, or Swiss chocolate. U.S.-made milk chocolate is barf emoji.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
So the
only
dark
because
one is
it's
better.
just sugar. It's just sugar, right?
Yeah.
And then we got Jennifer Jack, who works at the Covent Garden Market, who is responsible for putting this package together for me that they just sent.
Right.
She loves chocolate with her coffee. Dark like my heart, black like my soul.
I always say that when I go to a coffee shop and then and I say I have a coffee and then ask, oh, would you like cream or sugar? I'll say very cheerfully, oh no, that's fine. I'll have it black like my soul. And then they'll often be like, oh, a little sort of, oh, not quite sure what to say.
Yeah, and honestly, your soul is far from black, Jen.
Well,
did you find it?
Yeah, I just send them to you.
Okay, perfect. Let me just pull that up here, and you can entertain them while I load it up.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my goodness.
Right. Let me observe the chat.
Yes, please observe.
Oh, there's a question here. I don't know if I can click on it. No, that's fine. But I'll read it out loud and then we'll look at it after. It's from El Sarmento. Yeah. Question: does Switzerland still allow any cheese to be made from raw milk? Yes. You can also buy raw milk like that. You can buy that in the shop and drink that. That's you can still get that. And yes, we do have cheeses made with that. These are more sort of traditional cheeses, basically. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so I got these loaded up. So we got you. So you can explain it. This is.
Yeah. So you can see the scale of how large one of these slabs are, right? So we got 3, and then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across, and then in the end we have 3 layers of these. And then in between, we will, if we go to the next picture, I believe, we have, oh yes, that's me when I still had a bit of hair on my head. Oh, those were the days. Where we have the cherries that are put inside. And then on top of the cherries, we'll get some whipped cream, and then we'll do another layer and so on and so forth. And the thing is, well, first of all, you need to figure out how you're going to make it all, right? You need to figure out, okay, what are the trays? What are all the ingredients, which ovens, which temperature, and so on and so forth. Because the more you make of something, the more you fill out the oven, the more different you have to do the temperatures. You have to so regulate that. It's the same thing when you do laundry. When you do you wash your clothes. You know, if you throw in one sock or you have it all full, it has to be done a little differently. It's the same thing in an oven. And then, of course, the question is due to hygiene, because we made this for I think there were about 500 or 600 soldiers that we made this for, and they would come for a period of about 1.5 hours. And of course, putting this all together, this took about a good 1.5, 2 hours. I mean, it was me and like 3 other people. We put this all together. So I had to figure out a way of doing it so that it is hygienic, because of course you have whipped cream. And when was this? This would have been in April, May. So it was already quite warm. It was not refrigerated. How are we going to do this? So here you see the cherries, and these are canned cherries. So I strained them. I took the canned juice and I put it on the stove and I reduced it. So I cooked it. So the amount of the water became less and less. So the flavor was much more intense. And then I added sherry to it, schnapps, and then a little bit of chocolate. And then I added that to the cherries, and then I put the cherries in the freezer and I left it overnight. Now, if you have sugar, vinegar, salt, or alcohol of enough quantity in any sort of thing, and you put it in the freezer, it will not freeze. It will not freeze fully. The more it has of these ingredients, the more liquid it will remain. I mean, if you put a bottle of schnapps in the freezer, it will be completely liquid. It will not freeze at all. And so because of that, in the end, we basically had a very smooth thing to work with that I was able to work on the cake. So by the time we served our last slice, the cherries were still frozen inside.
Oh, wow.
And so that made sure that it was all within regulation with the temperature. So anyway, so that's that bit. And then here we are with my minions, with the whipped cream put on top of that. Yeah. And then this is when it was finished, when I decorated it. So this little emblem that you can see, that's the emblem of the barracks that I was in. And then in between, interchangeably, I did with a little cherry like that. Yeah.
Oh,
and that's us.
like a boss.
Like a boss. That's right. I'm the only one looking very serious there. Yeah. And then
wow, that's a big cake.
And then that those cream roses, that I've done in the edge. I actually wanted to do it across the whole thing, the whole cake. And then after a while, I was like, you know what, I can't do it anymore, because I was, the other ones, they couldn't do it quite so nicely. I was like, no, it needs to be exactly, this size and this way. And then I realized, there's no way I can do the whole thing full. It just took too long. So I just did a little border like that and then filled it out like that. So yeah, and that was
repetitive strain injury if you had to do all those.
Exactly. And all in all, it was 120 kilograms. I don't know how much that is in stones or in ounces or whatever, but yeah,
a lot.
And
that's like 250 pounds.
Could
is that
be
about right? Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
That's a big cake.
Yeah. Anyway, we got a tangent there because what was it? I think Gabrielle mentioned
this was all because Gabe ate an entire cake.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, Gabe, darling, you could dive into this cake.
Yes, you could literally dive into it. It's like Scrooge McDuck in his money pit.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's so funny. All right. Well, let's move on. Although we do have an answer, I think, to your UK question question about the ice cream. Devon cream, grass-fed, and really high-fat content.
Okay.
Maybe that's for your ice cream. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
But I could be wrong about that. But hey, that sounds pretty delicious.
Mm.
And then Haggis Basher says, I made a gorgeous, authentic Black Forest cake with a walnut pastry on the bottom from a cookbook of my mom's.
Mm.
That sounds pretty good too. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. So let's go into art.
Sure.
Complete different direction.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I have been watching some people do art therapy. Mm-hmm. And a while ago, Andrea bought me a little watercolor set for traveling, because we do like touring by bike and stuff. And I've literally never done any kind of art in my life. Mm-hmm. We're gonna set that right there. I am not an artistic person. I have no history with it. So she bought this, and I was trying it out, and I kind of did it a little bit. But recently, because everyone's talking about art therapy, I thought I'm going to try it. And then I got sent this book also from the market with some watercolor illustrations in it, which I just thought was beautiful. And it inspired me to break out the watercolors again.
Right. That's cool.
And I have found it very, very relaxing. And so I'm going to share with you a few pictures. I'm going to share with you ones that I did before. 2 I did before when I first got it, and then 2 I've done since. And then I also went shopping for acrylic painting as well. So I tried that out a little bit yesterday. So, and you guys, please keep in mind, I'm a 42-year-old man. This is not done by a 5-year-old, but it is also my first time.
Well, don't forget what Picasso did at the end of his life.
What's that?
Picasso made paintings to imitate how children paint. And he said that was the most difficult thing. Yeah. To imitate how children paint. And those sold for millions and millions and millions. So there you go.
I won't even sell mine for thousands.
Look at that.
So there you go. I am Picasso, my friends. But
yes,
I made watermelon.
Oh, there you go.
A slice of watermelon as I was playing around. And then this is my first attempt at like drawing trees and mountains with like a moon, kind of a dark scape.
All right, yeah, that's good.
Not too bad.
Yeah,
not too bad. This one I did like, this is one of the first times I tried it. I really like gradients and color washing and stuff. I think it's kind of cool.
Sure.
And then I did this one here.
Oh yeah.
Kind of a cool like the background of a sunset kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
And then I was thinking about Hawaii for some reason, and I did a full
Oh yeah, there you go.
one with some palm trees in the sun and a little bit
Yeah.
of grass kind of down at the bottom.
Lovely.
And then my acrylic, so this is more like a 5-year-old, but so I kind of did my similar version. It actually
Of
looks a
that.
little bit better. Did some clouds and stuff.
Did
Totally
you
just
paint
messing around with it.
Oh, is that on wood?
No, it's on a little canvas.
Okay.
And this is
Like a
acrylic.
cardboard stretched canvas.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just regular canvas wrapped around.
Cardboard.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. Not bad, right?
That's cool.
And then I also did another one, which I'm not going to reveal right now, but I will. I'll take a picture of it and I'll reveal it afterwards. Another day, but it's for someone. So.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, and so that's my work so far, and I thought I'd share it with you guys.
Awesome.
And I thought I'd share it with you. I find it very relaxing.
Yeah.
What's your experience with art and art therapy?
Well, I've not done any sort of art therapy in the sense of I'm doing something for therapy in that sense. I guess I did it without, unconsciously, I suppose. But well, I've been doing art for some years now, and I find it very relaxing. I find it just takes my focus off the problems that I have throughout the day away. It puts my mind, a few gears back. And because, of course, I have a very stressful job as well in the kitchen, and then doing art, which is really very slow. It takes its time. Sometimes you just have to sit there and wait because there's a patch of canvas that just needs to dry, and you need to work on top of that again. So you have to wait, or you go and make yourself a cup of tea, sort of look out the window a little bit, sort of contemplate, and you're just sort of forced to slow down a bit. And that sort of thing has certainly helped me to be more calm in private, to be more calm outside of work. Because in work, I'm very focused. I'm very no nonsense. Of course, I make inappropriate jokes all the time as well, if the time allows, and but generally speaking, I'm very focused on work, and I tend to take this sort of attitude and this sort of very fast pace. And also when I walk outside, people think I just robbed the bank. The way how I walk so very, very quickly, and I try to leave that at work, and then when I'm on my way back to home, or when I'm at home, that I'm trying to just be, try to be calm, not to be so stressed out. And painting, that is something that certainly has helped me, as well as reading, or going out, touch grass, as they say, go out, take walks, and things like that.
Yeah. So here's a question for you then, too, in regards to your art. Do you tend to work off of a picture, or do you have something that you have in mind you're going to paint, or do you just sit down and just see what you feel like at the time? Because that's something that I've asked myself how I want to do it. Like, do I just want to do I want to draw a landscape? Do I want to do this, or do you just kind of show up and do whatever you kind of feel like?
Well, I think it's very important in the beginning, when you first pick up art, to just do everything at once. Dry everything out, and throw anything at the wall, and whatever sticks, you just go with it. You just who knows? You might find out that you feel very a deep connection with several different ways of doing art, not only one, for example, and then you can work on those. And that's what I did when I first started doing art, shall we say, more professionally. And I decided to be more focused on that. And I tried different things. I tried different ideas. I like to experiment. I like doing things that I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just try it out. And sometimes it goes good, and sometimes it doesn't go quite so good. But I think that's very important in the process of doing art or anything creative, to not have too much of a fixed idea of what's going to be in the end. Because particularly, for example, for me and also for you, because I know you well enough that you are very much a perfectionist in that way, that if you put yourself in your head, okay, this is how it's going to have to look, it's going to be very difficult to actually meet that, because you are your own worst critic. I mean, everybody around you will say, oh, this is perfect, this is marvelous. And you think to yourself, oh, no, whatever. I mean, I have this as well. So I do understand that. And so what I tend to do, because my art is very abstract sort of art. And I mean, to give you an example, I've got actually just a piece here.
Sure.
Let me just take it off the easel.
Oh, wow. I love it.
There's this piece.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's very abstract. So it's not it's not like a beach with trees or a building or anything like that, where maybe one can be a bit more critical because of it. Oh yeah, you have to look the tree and compare it to the building, so on and so on and so forth.
Can you bring it back? Can I tell you what I see?
Oh, please. And then I'll tell you the title of it.
I see a crazy fox.
You mean here?
Yeah, so there we go. So eye and like below there, a bit of a tongue there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
The eye. Yeah.
Yeah. I see a crazy fox having fun in a field or something.
Oh yeah, you're right, actually. This is the fun part about this sort of stuff. You can just sort of turn around and maybe we'll see something else. You see, right now I see something else. I see here a man. There's a hand. This is the head, and he's sort of waving.
Oh yeah. I see an upside down fox.
Oh, okay. Well, don't focus on the fox, darling. You can just
I'm kidding.
Mess around like that. That's great. With this sort of thing. You can sort of hang it up any way you want to. And yeah. So let's see, how is this darling called? Ah, yes. This is the I don't know how you translate it in English, actually. It's the soiree. Yes, it's the soiree at the art exhibition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes. So this is the kind of art I do. So it's very abstract. And so what I do to sort of keep myself, because of course, with this sort of thing, when do you know it's done? But the same thing also when you like on your painting, when you do the beach, well, when is it done? Do you have to add maybe a bird? Maybe you have to add 2 or 3 birds, or maybe you want to add another tree. Maybe you want to add a person there. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. It never stops. And so what I tend to do is I tend to give myself limitations. I say to myself, okay, before I start, all right, I want to use only these materials. I want to use only these colors. Maybe I only have this amount of time. Only these materials or only these brushes or whatever. I sort of limit myself a little bit, because that forces the creativity as well. Because if you are, it's like working in a kitchen and you have a magical fridge that gives you every ingredient that you can possibly imagine. I mean, you sort of stand there and think to yourself, well, what am I going to do? Because it is so limitless. You don't really know. You're so overwhelmed by the possibility. You don't know what to do. But if you have a fridge where there are 10 ingredients and you have to make a 3-course menu with that, you really have to think about it. And then that is the moment where I think lots of very interesting things can happen, because you are forced to sort of dig into yourself and sort of like, oh, what could I do? And it forces you to try things out that you may have never done before or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing I do. And and I usually work also when I usually work with series. So I make a series of something. There's a series I made called Tea Time series. It was 8 paintings that I did, and I took old tea bags and that I used to have some tea with, and then I ripped them open and I worked them into the canvas to give it a special sort of texture. And then I made one with chamomile tea. I made one with Earl Grey tea. I made one with mint tea and things like that. Just called, Tea Time. The series is called Tea Time, and gave myself other sort of limitations and things like that, because of the surface, it's not smooth anymore. So you have to paint a little differently. It forces you to do things a little differently than how you're used to do them. And that's sort of my way of playing around with it. But yeah, I would say in the beginning, play around, try all sorts of different things out. There's nothing to lose, so to speak, because you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for yourself. And even if you have, for example, a canvas and you've ruined it or whatever, that's not a problem. You can scrape off the colors a little bit. If you can't scrape it off, that's fine. You paint one layer of gray and then one layer of white. There you go. Got a fresh canvas. Can start over again.
Yeah.
There's no,
Well, I am definitely experimenting. Like I said, I started off with a watercolor, which I like, and then now I am trying out acrylic.
Oh yeah.
Standard painting, but then I'm obsessed with acrylic pouring, like pour style.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen those,
my goodness! Like I've been watching video after video after video of this, like this technique of just like pouring over objects and stuff onto the canvas into
Have you seen that?
Like,
sorry,
go ahead.
No,
you, sir.
All right. Well, thank you. Have you seen those as well, where the people are like they have like a canvas and they have it like flat, and then they make a turn, and then they have like a bucket with holes in it, and then they sort of swing it on there, and then it sort of makes very symmetrical patterns with the acrylic dripping onto it.
Yeah, it's so cool. I've been watching this. I think it's Tictus Art. This one guy, like I think he's German actually, and he has the weirdest ways of doing things. Like he'll lay out a bunch of forks on the canvas, and he'll pour through the forks, and that creates a different pattern. And then spinning and out of funnels and all this stuff. But it's so cool.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like you can't screw it up. Like you'll end up with something interesting. You won't necessarily end up with something like incredible, but it's kind of a cool way of doing it.
Yeah.
Super messy. Super messy.
You would need a separate, room for that to allow that sort of
or at least a big drop sheet anyway, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to try that out. Yeah. And if anybody wants to buy my art, reach out. I'll sell it to you. Really quickly here, just want to say thank you to Julie for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Pam Abernathy brings up a comment here, and I'm curious your thoughts on this because I think we've touched on this before. But she says cooking equals art.
Wow.
I would love to hear your viewpoint on that for yourself.
For myself. Now I know I'm going to get on everyone's tits by saying this, but to me, cooking isn't art. To me, doing the finishing touching, the garnish, how you present the food, that is art. I agree that is art. But to me, cooking is all about chemistry and mathematics. That's what cooking is. And
so the actual cooking action, not the art, but it's the garnishing and the presentation.
The garnishing, the presentation, how you're going to style it on the plate and so on and so forth. And of course, the thought process of what do you want to, because with a dish, you also tell it as a story. You want to say something about whatever it is that you're presenting there. And that sort of idea, I think that is very artistic, lots of creativity. But the actual work that you do for it, that is just chemistry and mathematics, because it's very precise, very exact. And if you really understand what you're doing, in the sense of you understand the different chemical compounds in the ingredients, how they're influenced by salt, by heat, by temperature, by time, you can control it, you can change it, and you can do things with it because you really understand it. And that's why I see cooking as chemistry and mathematics, which sounds very dry and boring, but I find fascinating. I'm a complete nerd with that sort of stuff. And then, of course, then the presenting, the showing it, that's where the artist then comes to play for sure. So I would say I would not say no, cooking isn't art. I wouldn't say that, but I would neither say cooking is art. I would say it is a combination. It is a homogeneous living with science and mathematics.
Love it. How very Swiss of you.
How very Swiss, yes.
That's amazing. Yeah. Now, that was my art.
Mm-hmm.
And now the next topic I think you wanted to talk about actually is furthering education.
Oh, yes.
And your experience with that, because we're both second generation ex-Scientologists, and we both grew up without the opportunity for further education as kids, and definitely no focus on education outside of Scientology.
That's
So
right.
and as someone who's about to go back to school for the first time in so many years, I would love to hear your thoughts and your experiences on you having gone back to school.
Yeah, that was definitely. I mean, I've really enjoyed my time going back to school, actually, because that's when I met lots of great people, and it allowed me to not be in contact with Scientology at that time, because I didn't have any money to go and do Scientology, because I became an apprenticeship in the kitchen, and then I had to go to culinary school, and so I didn't have any spare money to do Scientology, and so I was going to culinary school, and I was doing the apprenticeship. And now, before I started doing it, I was very fearful of doing it, because I didn't think I would be able to even do it. I didn't think I have the brains to actually do it, because I left the CIOC in 2012, and before that I went to, shall we say, regular school until the age of 10. From 10 to 13, I went to 2 different Scientology schools here in Switzerland, and then with 13 I went to join the CIOC in England. And then from 13 to 16, I went to a CIOC school, which again was, not really education. And then after that, when I was 20 years old in 2012, I left the CIOC, and I didn't have anything. I didn't graduate school. I didn't have an apprenticeship. I didn't learn anything really. And so I started to work in the kitchen, because in the CIOC, I worked in the kitchen. So to me, it was logical. I would just keep working in the kitchen. And then I had a letter. I had to go to military. So I went to the military. And usually in Switzerland, you would do, if you end up being a cook, if you end up being a chef, you would do first the apprenticeship and go to culinary school. And after you've completed that, then you would do military. That's how it would usually work out. Now, in my case, I did the military beforehand, because simply I was a bit older. So I was in the kitchen with lots of young men who had just finished culinary school. So all of their knowledge was very fresh in their mind. And I was really fascinated about what they were telling me about the kitchen and so on and so forth. Because I would say at this point, I was able to cook, but I didn't really understand what I was doing. I didn't understand, again, the chemistry behind that. Like, why are these things happening? They were just happening, but I didn't understand why were these things happening. Why does meat shrink when you cook it this way, but if you cook it a different way, it shrinks a little less? Why does this piece of meat work differently than a piece from the back of the animal? To me, it was all the same. I didn't understand why that is the case, and all of these sort of things. Or if you cook meat on a grill, why does it become brown? What is happening with the meat that it becomes brown?
Right.
At what temperatures, and so on and so forth. So I obviously questioned them lots of these sort of things, and they answered them very casually. So I thought, oh wow, this going to culinary school, this might be quite a good idea. So at the end of my time in the military, I started to look for a restaurant that would take me as an apprenticeship and allow me to go to culinary school. And I wrote 10 applications to 10 different restaurants, and only 2 of them actually answered. And they answered in very polite terms, saying they don't think I have the wits to actually do it, because you have to be, because of course I didn't have any certificate for my basic schoolings that I had. I had nothing.
Right.
And on my CV, it showed quite clearly that I didn't finish school. And for you to be able to go to culinary school and graduate well, you obviously have to be, smart enough, shall we say. I mean, you don't have to be very smart, but smart enough, because of course the restaurant where you do apprenticeship with, they have a reputation to uphold. And if you fail at it, that will bring down the reputation of the restaurant. So they have to think about that sort of thing as well. And so I was obviously very disappointed. I didn't know really what to do. And then an officer in the military said, well, Samuel, you need to go, why don't you do your apprenticeship here in the military? And so I ended up doing in the military my apprenticeship as a chef. And then I started, well, first of all, it was offered to me. I had to think about it. Do I really want to do this? Because of course, I knew if I were to do this, I would not be able to do Scientology anymore, because obviously I make very little pay. I have very little pay. I didn't have anything else. And I was told all my life that no study is worthwhile outside of Scientology. And so I had almost in the back of my head, I have to prove to myself that actually I can survive outside of Scientology. But I was genuinely like afraid I would fail and I would prove Scientology right, that I'm a failure without it.
Yeah.
So eventually I got myself to sign the contract, and then I started doing it. And I remember a few months after I started in culinary school, there was the first examination. And the teacher said, all right, in two weeks we have our first examination of the first semester. And I was a complete wreck at home. I hardly slept. I was crying because I was so afraid of failing, of proving Scientology right, that without Scientology I'm a failure, that I'm nothing, I'm worthless. And I got so worked up about this thing. I mean, now looking back at it, I almost have to laugh about it because it's so ridiculous. But I actually have the examination here from my time. I have, of course, very Swiss of me, darlings. I have everything categorized by each semester.
Oh my goodness.
And then each one, all the tests, all the different daily programs, and all nice chronologically, which is my way of doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so this was my first ever test that I did. And I thought, and just to explain the system a little bit, I think in America and in Canada, you have like a letter system, as in you have like an F, you have an A, and that sort of gives you the grades. Is that right?
Yeah.
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 And in Switzerland, the way it works, you have a number system going from 1 being the worst. I mean, like that's the worst. That's basically not filling out anything, not even your name. There will be a 1. And then 6,
Okay.
and then 6 is the best. 6 is the best you can do. And to be able to pass, you need to have a 4. So if you have a 4.0, then you've just scraped by. And so anyway, so I did this exam, and I thought, oh, I'm going to either fail or maybe I'm only going to get a 4.0, because you see, I didn't only want to be able to pass at the end of the 3 years. I didn't want to just manage to get through. I really want to sort of show Scientology, not only am I going to graduate and manage, I'm going to be one of the best. To sort of stick it to Scientology, to sort of show I can do it without you. And so anyway, in the end, this was my score for this exam. So it was a 5.8.
Nice.
So I was almost 100%.
Almost perfect.
Almost perfect. But I cried with relief. I was so nervous because I generally thought that if I failed this test, I would drop out. I would just give up right then and there. I was going to drop out if I were not going to make this. And from that point onward, it was then much smoother, of course, because then I was like, all right, calm down now. And of course, the difficulty is how to study. How do you do that? Like, I couldn't remember how I studied when I was 10 years old. Like, did I write things down, the different things? So I thought it would be nice and interesting to show you and also other people how I found my way of being a good student, basically, and being able to remember all of these things. You just have to remember off by heart. So the first thing I did, I mean, the thing that helped me is repetition. So when I was at class, I had my notebook, and then the teacher would talk about whatever it is. He's talking about different vegetables, and he's talking about categories of vegetables. We've got root vegetables, we've got leaf vegetables, and so on and so forth. And then I would write it all down. I would basically make notes of everything he says. If he says, oh yeah, in book page 339, okay, I'll write that down. I'll write everything down like that. And then once I was home at the end of the school day, I had 1 day of school a week. That's how it worked. I mean, I worked 4 days at the restaurant, and then 1 day I was in the school, and then 2 days I had off. And then at the end of the school day, I would then go over my notes and then look up the things when it says a certain number, whatever. And another thing I did, I made these cards. I don't know if that's a thing that's very usual in the States or in Canada, where you have this sort of card.
Yep.
And then you just write down a question. You write down a question that's relevant, and then on the back, you write the answer. And I would always write the answer in a way that if I were to turn around at a later point and read the answer, I'd have to figure out what is the question, and sort of learn the other way around.
Okay.
And
So I
And
think they call them flashcards here.
flashcards. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, at
because you
least
have to,
we actually had those in Scientology school, and
really? Okay.
you basically had to answer the question with no comm lag,
Yeah, you have to answer
and if
very
you
quickly.
did, you
Yeah.
get flunked,
Yeah.
which is kind of insane. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Oh
that's what we
yeah.
had.
Yeah. So for the 3 years that I was there, it was 6 semesters, but really it was 5 because the 6th semester is repetition and going over it for the final examination. I made 5 semesters. I made over 500 of these cards.
Wow.
Way too much. I mean, I wrote things down that like even the teacher didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like because it was so niche. Just because I thought,
Yeah.
oh, just in case, this sounds
Yeah.
rather interesting. Oh, maybe they will ask this or whatever. So I was completely overqualified in that sense, and I overdid it. I completely overdid it with the cards. But that was something that definitely helped me. Just repetition, and then at home I actually had a small whiteboard. So then I would write things down. I would write things down up there, and in the morning when I would have breakfast, I would stare at it and just read it, whatever it is. I would write things down that are difficult to remember, like things that don't really make sense necessarily, but you just have to remember them off by heart. Like for example, the names of different cuts of the animals. They all have different names, right? And these are just the names of them. There's no way of really trying to find a way of remembering them other than you just have to remember them off by heart. So I would do these sort of things. I would write down, and then in the morning while I would eat my porridge, I would look at that, and that is the way how I did it. And then what I also did, I found the other geek in the classroom. Thankfully, there were 2 geeks. It was me and this other girl. Her name was Samantha. And I think she had the same problem as me in the sense she was also a little bit older, because usually you would do the apprenticeship when you're 16 years old. And I was at the time 23. I think she was a little bit over 30 at the time. And I think she also had this thing of proving that she's not too old and that sort of thing, And so she also was very ambitious. And so I found my twin there, my soulmate. And so we would tease each other. We would say things like, what is the amount of fat in this kind of butter? What is the Latin name of this root vegetable or whatever, things like that, to just sort of keep ourselves on our toes. And that's what I would also recommend, that you find the person in the classroom that is sort of on the same wavelength as you, and then you can sort of after school maybe just talk about certain subjects, or maybe if you guys don't live too far apart, on a weekend or something, go to one or the other person and then study together. I mean, that's how I got through to that.
That's cool. Yeah, that's very helpful. That's gonna be the interesting thing for me is mine's distance education. So I'll be doing it from home.
Yeah.
There's like an online forum where everyone's expected to participate to create that community in the group, which is cool.
Oh, yeah.
But it's gonna be cool, and hopefully I can meet some of the people in person.
Yeah.
I do have, of course, Janice Selby, who is a counselor in Kelowna, who actually turned me on to the program.
Right. Yeah.
Who
you had her on your program once as well, right?
Yep, and I've been on her podcast as well. But she's gonna be helping me a lot, I think, as well. So
that's awesome.
And hopefully I'll be able to do some volunteer work, because every course or every month, I think it is, you have to do 15 hours of volunteer work in the space.
Right. Yeah.
And so that will be cool, and hopefully I can help do some online group therapy and stuff like that.
Cool.
Which will be neat.
Yeah.
Larky here has a comment, very much appreciative of this. So smart, Samuel. Flashcards help me, but to word the answer to then ask what is the question, yes, makes sense. Double the punch. Knowing the material backwards and forwards.
Yeah. It's not always possible with the question or whatever, but I always try to do it that way, because in the end, that way I had almost over 1,000 flashcards, so to speak, because obviously of knowing it backwards and forwards. Because of course, I'm a very logical thinker. So if you just tell me this is that way because I tell you, I can't remember that. I have difficulty remember that because it doesn't make any sense to me. I need to understand the logic behind that. And then once I understand the logic behind it, it clicks, and I will never forget it, pretty much, unless I will never use this information ever again, of course. But in cooking, in culinary, it is so fascinating because there's so many things that we simply do, and we're told you have to do it that way, you have to cook it that way, and it is embedded in history. And it's so long ago when people figured that out that people these days don't actually know why they're doing it. They're just doing it because it's always been done that way. And I'm the kind of person, I'm the annoying student who said, excuse me, Mr. Schumacher, that was my teacher, why exactly do we do it like that? You know, and then he would say, well, Escoffier said so. And Escoffier, Eugen Escoffier, he was like a very important figure in the early 20th century in culinary. He was the one who basically organized the kitchen the way it is now, the different titles that we have in the kitchen. Before, it was just sort of like, okay, one person was the head chef and the rest was just sort of doing what he said, but it was not really organized properly, and there was no real rules and things like that. And he was the one who said, all right, we need to put more of a precise thing in there. And he was a very celebrated chef at the time. And then sometimes the answer simply, well, Escoffier said so. And I'd say, well, I don't care. You know, like, let's find out why. And the good thing about my teacher, I have to say, and I had huge respect for him for that, is he was incredibly knowledgeable. He knew lots of stuff. But when he didn't know something, he would say, Mr. Zulin, you know what? I actually don't know the answer. But tell you what, go home, find out. And then next week on school, do a little presentation and tell us why that is so and so. And I managed to do that a few times, and it was quite fun. Because then I go into a rabbit hole of it all, and you know, the history of it. There are many things, that many ingredients that you use that are, you don't even question it, but there are exact reasons why. Because back in the day, hygiene wasn't that great, or there were certain illnesses going around, and then you would add certain spices and herbs to certain dishes that nowadays you couldn't have them without these herbs and spices. But there was a very specific reason for it, you know, back in the day. And I find that sort of thing, history, fascinating. You know, the history of cooking and so on and so forth. I mean, I'm of course, as you know, I'm a nerd, so naturally I collect. So I've got volumes of old menu cards, you know, from the 19th century, you know, showing the different appetizers and main menus and all of that sort of thing. And I collect old cookbooks, and yeah, fascinating.
That's
the history
cool.
as well. Yeah.
Did you find when you're like, you went through it, you had a Scientology education, you were told to clear words, demo kits,
Sure.
clay demos, sketches, all this study tech stuff.
Yeah.
What was did you find it challenging to like not necessarily clear words, or did you clear words?
No, what I did, because as I said in the beginning, I was doing it to sort of say, F you, Scientology. I can study something that's not Scientology and not only do well, but be successful and so on and so forth. So I was almost like, don't use study tech, don't use study tech, you know, like, don't use it, because otherwise I would almost like, you know, it would go against that. But then I came to realize, well, that's kind of nonsense. If it does help, then I should do it. I mean, I never did any demonstration or anything like that. I mean, it was clear to me if I was, for example, when we were studying the different animals and the different pieces of the animals and how they're called and where they're allocated, then of course I got myself an illustration of a cow, of a calf or whatever, to sort of, okay, here it is, okay, makes sense, fine. But if I found a word I didn't understand, I would look it up. I would look it up in the dictionary, find the appropriate definition for it, and be like, okay, great, and then move on. And that was it. Because I knew, even if I were to make sentences and look up all the definition, the derivation, if that word comes again, you know, 20 pages later, I might already have forgotten what it meant.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was also when I was a Scientologist and looking up these words. So it was like, there's no point of wasting all the time looking up the 13 definitions or whatever it was. I just took the definition that makes sense. Okay, fine. Or if somebody next to me in class would be, oh, do you know what this means? It means so and so. Okay, great, thanks. And then I would move on or whatever. I mean, that's how I would do with it. I had a small little dictionary, like an electrical one, so I can type in the word and it came really quickly, the definitions. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's good to know. I mean, like that's probably my biggest hurdle to overcome is the study tech, because it was just hammered into my head.
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
have
did do
noticed though that
sketches and things. I did do sketches, and because you have to sketch as a chef, you have to say, okay, we want to do beef Wellington. We want to do a, the castle potatoes, they're called. They're sort of specially shaped potatoes, and then we want to do asparagus or whatever, and then we're going to make a sauce with morels in it, those mushrooms, and then you have to, okay, how are we going to present it? Where is it going to go on the plate? What kind of plate are we going to have? Are we going to have a traditional round plate? Is it going to be oval? How large is it going to be? Is it going to be a triangular plate maybe? Is the plate going to be black? Is the plate going to be white? Is there going to be a pattern on the plate? What are the colors of the patterns? All these things are very important to know, to scratch out, to then be able to present the food as best as possible. Then you need to have a decoration. In a classical French kitchen, you always have, in German it's called Knusperkomponent, which is a crunchy component. So what you want on your plate is not only different tastes, but you want different textures. And one of the textures should always be something crispy, something crunchy on there, even if it's just a little bit decoration that is crunchy, because it just gives a bit, because it gives a different sensation in the mouth. If it's all very smooth, it's not as exciting when you have something between that. Maybe it's a little bit crunchy or whatever, the same with different layers of flavors and things like that.
Interesting.
So yeah, sketching was also important. Sketching and looking up the words, but really only the definition that's really appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of, I've gotten much better at it. And I kind of realized that, like, I've been reading a little bit more lately just to kind of warm my brain up for school. Sure. And it is much easier for me just to skim by things without fully understanding every single nuance to it, which is what you'd have to do in Scientology.
Yeah.
Wanted to say thank you, Brad, and hello.
Hello, Brad.
Thank you for that super chat, and we love you too. Well, I do. I don't know. Do you love him?
Well, I shall only say we had very intimate and deeply satisfying times with each other during my time in England.
Yeah, Brad's awesome.
Yeah. And this, by the way, for anyone who's just new in the chat, that is from Brad, the SPTV thing. He didn't print it. He didn't, get it from a computer or something. No, he painted this himself with watercolors.
Yeah. And I don't know if Brad saw my pictures or not. I actually, you know what? I sent him a WhatsApp of one of them.
Okay.
So. Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who's gone through this, and I have people that I can rely upon if I need some study help.
Sure. And if you have flashcards, send them via WhatsApp, and I will ask, I will ask or whatever.
We could do a study quiz Jeff day.
Oh yeah,
a full live where you have a copy of them. We can show them, and I have to answer them.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Is there anything else you would like to chat about, sir, or shall we say goodbye to these amazing people in the chat?
To these marvelous people. No, I think that was an interesting chat.
I think so.
Yeah.
I always love hanging out with you.
It's always a pleasure, darling.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, we are going to end this for today, but we will do another one soon. Don't forget to subscribe to Samuel's channel, the SP Chef, where you have some interesting, fun things coming out very soon that I'm looking forward to.
Yes, indeed.
So, yeah. Until we see you again, have a good day, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Super important, and it's fun and free. We'll talk soon. Bye.